many Gran Turismo players, myself included, East City in GT2 is like a home away from home. The chilled jazz fusion music, the used car dealers, and the wide selection of Japanese cars that are legendary by today's standards. But wait, what's this? TommyKaira? I don't think I recognize that name. Ahoy there! If you've ever played a Gran Turismo game in the past, you'll know there's a heavy Japanese bias in the game's car lists. Duh, it's made by a Japanese developer. While brands like Mazda, Nissan, Honda, and Toyota are household names at this point, there's one Japanese car company in the series that technically isn't even a car company. Yet, they've made some of the most mysterious cars to ever be put into video games. Ones that may not even exist in our world. And so, partly inspired by something Raffle Waffle touched on, we're going to take a closer look at the history of TommyKaira in Gran Turismo. The company known as TommyKaira was founded in 1986, with parent company Tomita Auto Inc. founded 18 years prior in 1968. The company's namesakes refer to co-founders Yoshikazu Tomita and Kikuo Kaira. TommyKaira got their start with tuning cars, initially tuning foreigner cars like the Mercedes-Benz 190E and 300E. But by 1988, they remembered they were a Japanese tuning company, and went on to exclusively tune Japanese cars, such as the Nissan March and Nissan Skyline, both of which can be seen in Gran Turismo 2. And in 1995, TommyKaira unveiled their very first original sports car, the ZZ, retroactively known as the ZZ1. The ZZ was a lightweight roadster in a similar vein to cars like the Lotus Elise, the Tom's Angel T01, and the Renault Sport Spider. The ZZ was mid-engined, rear-wheel drive, powered by an SR20DE inline-4 sourced from Nissan, making 178 horsepower, while only weighing a little over 1,400 pounds. Over 150 pounds less than the AutoZam AZ1. With its high power-to-weight ratio, the ZZ could go from 0 to 60 in 4 seconds flat, and reach a top speed of 150 miles per hour. And in a similar fashion to the Angel T01, the ZZ was manufactured in the UK through TommyKaira UK, because if any country knew how to make lightweight sports cars, it was the one that's home to Lotus. The ZZ went into production in 1996 and was discontinued in 2000, selling around 220 units during its production run. Before we get into TommyKaira's financial woes and the brief existence of Autobacs' sports car laboratory, we jump to late 1999, where the ZZ would make its first licensed debut in none other than Gran Turismo 2. The original Gran Turismo, first releasing in 1997, was a smash hit for its wide variety of licensed cars. For the sequel, many more car companies wanted to work with Polyphony Digital to bring their cars to the game. While several other car manufacturers from around the world put their name on GT2, several Japanese tuning companies would also sign on. This includes TommyKaira, who were also the only Japanese tuning company to have a dedicated car dealership in the game. I specified Japanese because I'm not opening the can of worms about Roof or Carroll Shelby. Anyway, in GT2, there's a handful of tuned Nissans, including the aforementioned March and Skylines, in addition to the ZZS, which was a slightly more powerful ZZ. But when we look at the Special tab in the dealership, this is where things get weird. Here, we see a glimpse of TommyKaira's future in the ZZ2 and the ZZ3. There's just one problem. They don't actually exist. At least, not as they were depicted in GT2. Starting with the 1999 ZZ2. This car was intended to be a road-legal GT1 car, as you might be able to tell from how it looks. It's mid-engine, rear-wheel drive, but this ZZ2 was powered by the almighty RB26 DETT, the same twin-turbo inline-6 used in 3 generations of the Nissan Skyline GTR. But this RB26 has been tuned to make 588 horsepower, with a theoretical top speed of 227 miles per hour. As for the ZZ3, it was more of a linear successor to the original ZZ. Once again, mid-engine, rear-wheel drive, with an SR20DE making 184 horsepower. But in GT2, these future ZZs do not exist. Both the ZZ2 and the ZZ3 depicted in-game are based off of concept artwork. Sure, the proportions are different, but that might have been done to make them look more realistic. Now, while the ZZ3 never existed as a car in real life, there's one damning photo of the 99 spec ZZ2 that suggests it may have existed in the prototype stage at one point. I don't know if this is a render or a real road-going model, but this is the only picture of the 99 spec ZZ2 known to exist. The ZZ3 as a car was never meant to be, but the ZZ2 would actually live on, just not in its GT1 state. When Gran Turismo 3 A-Spec came out in 2001, TommyKaira decided to rework their ZZ2 project. They decided to shift the car's focus from being a road-going GT1 car to a lower-priced supercar. The RP26 DETT was maintained, and now the car shared the all-wheel drive Atessa system from the Skyline GTR. Basically, it turned into a heavily modified R34 GTR. The new ZZ2 concept in GT3 reflects this change. The racing spoiler was removed, a second roof scoop was added, and the overall design looked more like a sports car than a race car. But when the car entered production in 2001 for the 2002 model year, it received a few more minor tweaks to its appearance, mostly for roadworthiness. Sadly, this final prototype would be the only version of the car made, and the ZZ2 as a whole never made it into production. I mention this because despite the car never releasing, subsequent games in the Gran Turismo series would reuse the 2000 spec concept. The model was never updated across GT4, GT5, or GT6. Worth noting is that the concept could be purchased from TommyKaira in GT4 for 500,000 credits, then 1,000,000 credits in GT PSP, before suffering from a sharp depreciation curve in GT5 and GT6, available to purchase for roughly 60,000 credits. In spite of the sharp drop in price in the games, the ZZ2 2000 is one of the more cost-effective supercars in the PS3 games. But at this point in time, the TommyKaira we knew since GT2 stopped making cars. By the turn of the millennium, Japan's economy was still reeling from the bubble collapse in 1991. TommyKaira ran into economic troubles around the time they were working on the ZZ2, and as such were forced to sell their manufacturing arm to Autobacs 7, or simply Autobacs. Autobacs are a Japanese car parts retailer. Basically, they're the Japanese equivalent to Napa or AutoZone. The first car under the new Autobacs Sportscar Laboratory, or ASL, was the Garaiya, based on the original ZZ. For a while, I thought the ASL Garaiya resembled the ZZ3 concept more than anything, as its overall silhouette bears a striking resemblance to the ZZ3. The Garaiya first appeared in Gran Turismo Concept and would reappear alongside the ZZ and ZZ2 2000 in every Gran Turismo game up to GT6. Though it's worth noting that the Garaiya and the ZZ1 did appear in other video games. But GT4 introduced the racing version of the Garaiya driven in JGTC. The Arta Garaiya placed 7th overall in the 2003 JGT season in GT300, but didn't win any races that season. The racing Garaiya would be updated for GT5 and GT6 with the 2008 Super GT Arta Garaiya, which took 2nd overall in the GT300 class of 2008's Super GT season. While the Garaiya achieved some success in motorsport, it didn't translate that success into manufacturing. What won on Sunday didn't sell on Monday. Echoing a similar production issue that doomed the ZZ2, the Garaiya never entered full production with just a handful of prototypes built. ASL killed off the Garaiya in 2005, with said prototypes being given to various Autobox employees. They were either put on display at various Autobox stores or sold off to other companies. One prototype was sold to the Osaka Sangyo University, where it was converted into an electric car. Even if you could have bought a Garaiya in real life, you would have had to jump through a bunch of hoops just to have the opportunity to buy it new. In what I can describe as Gran Turismo 7 purchase vouchers by way of conditions needed for a promotion exam in Tetris the Grandmaster 3, prospective buyers would have had to pass a written and practical test and conduct an interview for a chance to buy the car. But that clearly never happened since, well, the car never made it to market. And lastly, by 2013, Super GT changed its rules to favor road-going cars, phasing out prototype class cars with little to no roadworthy variants. This meant that the Garaiya was no longer eligible to race in Super GT, and the sports car that never was got retired for good. In the chronology of Gran Turismo, GT6 was the end of the ZZ lineage, the end of ASL, and the end of TommyKaira. A tale of a handful of low-volume Japanese lightweights gave Gran Turismo fans and car lovers alike a strange story to research. In Gran Turismo 2, two ZZ concepts were basically made from scratch for the game, predating both Vision GT and the Nike 1 2022. Neither the ZZ2 nor the ZZ3 made it into production in the end. And when TommyKaira were in a financial hard spot, the largest car parts store in Japan tried to make their own version of the ZZ and failed, but not before seeing modest success in Japanese motorsport. However, TommyKaira is still around to tune up Nissans, Subarus, Hondas, and the like. They were even able to build a new ZZ in 2014, resurrecting the Roadster as an electric car. That said, this ZZ EV was discontinued in 2021. Lightweight cars are always fascinating. They're like street-legal go-karts, and it's no surprise that the ZZ and the Garaiya stood out. While TommyKaira has yet to return to video games, Gran Turismo or otherwise, they've earned their spot in East City, standing alongside the elite automakers of Japan. What cars or car stories in gaming would you like to see next on Virtual Garage? Please let me know. This has been Squiddy the Kid, signing off. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that jazz.